Yes. So we are ready. And I am pumped because now the tables have turned and now I get to interview the infamous king of all media on Facebook for real estate, Jesse Zagorsky. How you doing? So I think you're muted. Jess,
I,
you are definitely muted.
no, I'm unmuted. You can hear me.
I can hear you now.
Okay,
So
cool.
I
Yeah,
just want to thank you
I
for
muted
doing
myself out. I muted myself out because my office is on the wrong side of the train tracks. You hear that?
Oh my gosh. Yes, I can hear that.
It'll be gone in a
So
second.
for those that don't know, Jesse Zagorsky is a team leader with EXP in California, and more importantly, a friend. I had met him a couple times, once in Temecula with John Cheplack, who I am a huge fan of, and then also in New Orleans. So Jesse is going to drop some bombs today for all of us to learn. Any brokerage too. I always like to say that because this is open for everybody. We love to share, and I got that from you, Jesse. You and David Serpa, David Golden, and I love it. It's about sharing, and when we do that, we lift each other up. So,
That's it.
yeah, that's what it's all about. So, what would you like to say or start out with? What's your definition of friend working versus networking?
Friend working versus networking. So anybody watching this really is something that you can use anywhere you want to take a relationship deeper. So I prefer to use it in ways where you can meet someone and have them generate a significant amount of business with you or multiple transactions, but you can do it even just with one-off transactions. And the biggest difference between friend working and networking is with friend working. Let's start with networking. With networking, people can feel your energy, right? So Stacey, have you ever been out networking? Have you ever been out to network?
Yes, it's awkward. It feels forced. It's I don't want to say icky, but it's just like it. I can see how it could be bring on anxiety. Really.
But say icky, right? And a lot of people love networking, and I'm not knocking networking, but the problem is when you say I'm going to go out and network, why did you say I don't want to say icky, but kind of icky? What makes you want to say icky?
Because it feels like, what am I getting from you? I'm here to meet you. Can you help me in my business? Tell me. And then you're talking to someone, they're looking over your shoulder. Who else can they talk to? Who's the big person in the room? Like it doesn't feel real. It feels like it's forced, like forced fun. I just don't like it.
And most people don't
True.
like it, right? There are certain people who do love it, who just that's their jam. But the reason you don't like it is because people are looking through you in order to get to their objective, right?
Yeah.
They're not there to meet you. They're looking, then you can feel that energy kind of looking through you. Make sense?
Yes, totally. Yep.
Okay. So friend working on the opposite side, which is how I've run my business and grown my business for most of my career. I've been doing real estate for 17 years now.
Oh my
Um, it's really because you're looking to make connections and grow true friendships that will end up in mutual benefit, but it's not coming because you have an agenda. It's coming because you generally are out to make friends. Does that make sense?
Yes, and I feel like once you say it that way, then everything flows naturally, either now or and there's no timeline on it. I feel like it could be now, it could be in a month or 2 months or 3 months, but the friendship is why I'm interested in talking to you today.
It's a relationship, and that's the whole idea. Is you develop this relationship. You don't know what's going to come out of it necessarily, especially if you do have though. If you do have some agenda of where you want to go with it, you're still going to get there faster by developing a relationship first. And it could be friendship. It could be, I mean, obviously, if you take this out of the context of business, romantic relationships are developed the same way. All relationships are deepened based on the same principles. And once you know what you're playing with and what you're working with, you can consciously ratchet up or ratchet down the level of intensity of that relationship to then get at that point where you want to go. Does that make sense?
Yes, I like that. I like that. Yep.
And the way friend working came about was we were sitting at a table at lunch at a conference, right? Before the world of COVID, there was a ton of conferences
Ah, I
and we're
miss
sitting
those
there,
days.
right? So what do you miss about those days? What do you love about those days?
I miss the human connection and talking to people, and it's not so much the conference, it's what happens after the conference or in between. You go on break and you meet people, and it's like, it's not kismet, but it's just more natural. The human connection I miss, like that's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And we
And
have this, and this is awesome, but it's not the same.
this doesn't feel like you and me hanging out right now.
No.
But,
Oh, wait a
okay.
minute. Are your kids in the background? Are
They,
they in school?
they are. My kids are in school. So, all right. So here's the thing I will teach you though. even though this is not exactly the same as hanging out you and me in person, right? That when we sit in person, very different. Our brains are still picking up right now in the same way or very similar to the way that they would have if you and I were in person. So it's called the parasympathetic response. And the same thing happens when you binge watch TV. So part of friend working revolves around this idea of really how much time you spend with another person, that whole just duration of time. And so you can leverage this parasympathetic response, just like if someone were to binge watch a Netflix show, to trigger their brain to make them feel like they're hanging out with you more often. Okay, what do I mean by that? Right now, if we did an MRI of your brain, we took Stacy's head, we put you inside an MRI, right? Your brain would be lighting up in the same, very similar way to how it would be if you and I were hanging out either in person versus just
Oh, okay.
hanging out on camera,
All
right?
right.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So you can use that. That's the reason why when you talk about doing Facebook Lives like this, right? If you have clients watching this, agents who are friends with you, I do a lot of like Facebook Live and just live content on
Yeah.
social media. And I'm not saying thousands of people watch it because to me, it's not about quantity, but
Right.
it's about the people that do watch it. There's people that get on and engage on a daily basis. We're developing a real relationship based on the fact that they see me and I see them all the time.
Exactly. Yes. And almost like watching your favorite next Netflix show, you see that person almost every day. And subconsciously, you're like, I feel like I know them. And
That's
I
exactly
love
it.
that. And it's
That's
not
exactly it.
about when we do these Facebook Lives, for me, it's not about who's watching. Can someone please watch me now? It's about us connecting and we can share it with everybody else so that they can pick up little bombs like nuggets where normally they would not have. And that's why I love Clubhouse. That's another conversation altogether. But getting back to the friend working and getting in front of someone. So okay,
Well, let's talk Clubhouse in the context of friend
okay.
working, right? There's
Yes.
there's Diane. Diane's agreeing with what we're saying. I love it. All right, cool. So let's talk Clubhouse because Clubhouse is such a weird but cool
Yeah.
phenomenon. And if anyone watching this is not on Clubhouse and don't know what it is, message Stacy. She'll get you hooked up, right?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, a bunch of invites, you can send them out. No. So like it's this audio only platform. But what I've noticed is you see, depending on the rooms you go into, you see the same people in those rooms over and over. And
Yeah.
even just hearing their voices. Do you spend much time on Clubhouse?
I was addicted to it 2 weeks ago. I will go on for like 2 hours a day, and sadly, on a Friday night, I'll go on much longer. So
It's not sad. There's something about it that's calling you in. And I think part of it is that like fear of missing out, like you're gonna miss something cool, but
yep.
it's also part of the factor of friend working. There's a few factors. Another one is intensity, the intensity of the relationship, the dynamics of what you talk about. And I find that the subjects they're talking about on Clubhouse go a lot deeper, a lot more quickly than people just talking about the surface. And so because they're kind of people you start to get to see, you have that duration, which repeats often. And then you've got this piece comes where they're talking about things that you're interested in. You're joining rooms based on subject matter that you like, whether you're moderating or whether you're just a part of it. And that level of intensity, I think, ups it versus just like talking to someone randomly about the weather or a sport you don't care about. Does that make sense?
It does, and it's interesting that you were touching on people and the level of intensity that goes up because I don't know about you, but I'll go into these rooms and you see the same people and there's stories of like the underdog. So people that have overcome horrific things or unbelievable odds and you're like, "How are you still alive?" And those stories people love. They gravitate towards it because they feel like either there's a part of them that wants them to make it. I like there was one room where this woman was bawling, crying, and she suffered from, and it's terrifying. She can't wake up, and she's in it's night terrors or something like that. So
Yep.
she was like, I don't have anything to be grateful for, and that's what we were talking about. And everyone jumped in and was like, April, we love you. We have your back. To the point, you're going to love this. A room was created based on this woman's story called the second best room in Clubhouse, meaning we totally like 15 minutes, Jesse. We were like, April, you're loved. There's so much to be grateful for. And we're like, so what do you think? I swear to God, she goes, well, it's probably the second best Clubhouse room I've ever been in, and everybody starts dying. They changed the name of the Clubhouse room, and now all these famous, like not famous people, but like all these people now come in, and they're like, "Oh, second best Clubhouse," and all we do is laugh. But it's like the fact that you like in relationships, like I feel like I know April, and
Right.
I feel like I've met like 20 people that I never would have met on Facebook or LinkedIn or any of that stuff. It's like, it's unbelievable.
Yeah. So you've got, it's really interesting. So you've got the intensity of what you talk about, which is that, I mean, that's super intense. You have someone breaking down, crying, talking about their
Yeah.
lives. I mean, that's going really deep. And whenever you're trying to build a relationship with someone, if it's in the business context, your goal is not to get, you know, your clients to bawl and cry, right?
Right. Yeah.
Was Lisa part of the room? By the way, I see Lisa up
in the room. She was in the room.
Yes. She remembers April. So,
Yeah.
so the goal is not to get your clients to cry. However, I mean, if you're talking about subjects that matter to them, that
Yeah.
helps deepen the relationship with your clients much more quickly, right? If there is, let's say, for example, something called a channel account. I don't know if you know that, if you guys use that term or what term you use, but a channel account is somewhere where you meet someone and they could potentially send you not just a normal buyer or seller, but they're going to send you, you know, 15, 20 deals in a year. They could be an attorney, a financial planner, someone like that. And your goal is, I want to go really deep with this person, right? I want to
Yeah.
figure out how to really strengthen this relationship. If you end up talking about things that matter to them in their life, that's going to strengthen that relationship a lot faster than just having a normal general conversation. Hey, let me tell you what we can do for you. Let me tell you what we can do, right?
It's what I've found is with relationships is expecting nothing back and making it about the other person. Like I already know what I think.
Right.
I'm already set. I'm interested in learning about the other person and if there's any way that I can help them. And when you look at the biggest influencers or speakers or coaches, like one is Bob Proctor, and he talks about the rule of impression, which is making someone feel better. It's simple. You make them feel better when they leave you. Like you leave them in a better place mentally,
Yeah.
something like that that we take for granted.
And let's go deeper in that, making them feel better when you leave them. So in terms of like buying gifts for people, there's a book called The Go Giver, which is fantastic, about all sorts of ways to put clients first. There's, I don't remember if it was Go Giver or another book that talks about buying gifts. But if you're going to go out of your way and buy a gift for someone, this is where, when you start to talk about deeper things that matter to them, the intensity in that relationship, and then you can purchase something as a gift that doesn't have to be a lot of money, but that relates to something that matters to them, it goes a heck of a long way to strengthen that relationship more than just buying them something that doesn't matter or sending them flowers or something like that.
Now, I want you to tell everybody on Facebook and every page that this is going to be shared that how good you are at this. So please tell everybody.
I don't know how good I am, but I have a lot of fun with it.
Meaningful. It's having fun, and that's what this is all about in general, right? Life, it's relationships, and it's having fun, and it's not always like strategic and doing things by the book. Please share your story about REO.
And I guess I am pretty good at it because I guess it's a point of pride is I like to get like really fun, weird gifts for people. So
memorable.
I had a client so this was a corporate client years ago that I was talking to on the phone. We were talking about a house that was, under contract, and the person just had a really stressful week. And I think they might've made a comment that something about like, I feel like I have so many things going on, I can't even breathe or something. They made some comment like that. So naturally what I did was I went online and I ordered an oxygen mask from an old airplane, right?
I didn't know that story. I wasn't thinking of that one. I was thinking of a little kid's t-shirt.
Right. Oh, I can tell a t-shirt one too. I mean, I bought all sorts of weird gifts. So I'll tell the one in a sec. So I buy this oxygen mask, like the type that fall out of a plane, like out of the ceiling of it. And obviously it's not natural. It's not normal. My brain's a little bit left of center where I just kind of think like, okay, they can't breathe. Let's go send them an oxygen mask. And I found this old oxygen mask from a 1970s plane and bought it on Etsy, and FedEx overnighted him a little note that said, hope this, help you get some air or get some oxygen. I forgot what I wrote in it. And this person opened it up, walked it around the entire office, stuck it up on her wall. I mean, it was on her wall for months, probably years. Right. and from there, we just all of a sudden became friends at a much deeper level. We were still working together. She still sent me business. We were still clients, but that one gift just kind of created that dynamic immediately. Make sense?
It totally makes sense. Please tell the little shirt. I love that story.
All right. Little shirt was I had another client that we were at a conference and they were at we ran out to there was like a little like mini nightclub at this conference that we were at, the JW Marriott out in Palm Springs back in the day before COVID, right? This is long ago. And this client who was with us, for some reason, he was just wearing a t-shirt. Like he had changed after the event and everyone else was dressed up and they had a dress code, which is hilarious because this wasn't a real nightclub. This is
Right.
like a oversized bar if anyone's been to the JW Marriott, but they have a DJ booth and so they have a dress code. You have to have a collar. So I lent this guy, I happened to be wearing like a shirt underneath and an undershirt. So I was like, hey, you want my shirt? And I gave him my shirt, and my shirt underneath was like a V-neck, which allowed me to get in somehow. I have no idea what the rules are very strange. So I gave him the shirt off my back and we went inside the club and we had a good night. And at the end of the night, he's like, you want your shirt back? I'm like, no, you can. He's like, yeah, here, take it. So he gave me the shirt back. And next week we went back to the office and it was like this white striped shirt. So I went and looked online for the closest looking shirt I could find to it. That was like a little kid's miniature version. So I FedEx overnight, and I'm a big fan of, by the way, FedExing things to your clients. It makes them feel important.
Yes.
Because how often in your day-to-day life do you get something FedEx that's like fun? That's not like, it's always important.
It's
FedEx.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a bill or someone trying to track you down. If it's like a fun thing, FedEx, it's like, this is a big deal. So I FedExed him a tiny little shirt that said, I sent out that shirt to the dry cleaner. And it came back a little smaller so you can keep it. And again, this guy stuck it up on his wall in his office, all the other people that worked together. And this was a real estate company that I'd done a lot of business with. And that sending him a tiny shirt, which cost me, I don't know, 15, 20 bucks plus overnighting. I mean, $20, $30 total. That generated, it was the act of both giving him my shirt and then setting the follow-up. Because you want to give people in friend working, you want to give people reminders of things that will last a lot longer than just the fleeting moment. Anything you can have that's a reminder over time of that fun that you had, that dynamic, to create that special thing. It's like, why do friends give you special things? Like if you have like a little like bracelet from your friend, if you were growing up or something like that, same idea.
Yeah.
Right?
So take that concept of your true friends and making it something memorable that's going to last for months and months and months, not just that one night. I love that.
Yeah.
And I love that it's quirky and different because that's memorable and that is you. Like,
thanks.
if you did something else that was like not Jesse, you'd be like, eh.
well, something I just thought of that we stopped doing, and I got to bring it back in the world of buyers and sellers. So if you have clients, we used to always do a ribbon cutting ceremony at the front door. So when we represented a buyer, we'd put a ribbon up at the front door, and we would take the scissors and we'd have them cut it, and we'd take a picture of that, like with their family cutting the ribbon, and then we'd take that picture and we'd print it onto a canvas print.
Yeah.
It doesn't cost a heck of a lot of money, but and no branding, no nothing on the back. You could put your info if you even met it, but it's not about branding. It's just about having this memory that then my clients would put this up on the wall and it would be there for a long time. But same concept in terms of going beyond that normal business dynamic. So
it's the feel good memories that last a lot longer than the moment itself. If you could give us one more friend working versus networking example that sets you apart or that can help everybody in their life, in their business, but also in their life.
Yeah. So the 4 factors that a lot of this I pulled from, it came from a book called The Like Switch, Like. And he says there's 4 factors. So we've talked about 2 of them. We talked about duration, which is how much time you spend. We talked about intensity. The next 2 are frequency and proximity, right? So proximity is hard with COVID because that's why I like Zoom versus a phone call. Anytime you can get on Zoom, that's that whole, you're tricking the brain to think that you guys are, actually hanging out. But frequency, this is a really big one. If you want to deepen a relationship, you have to start seeing someone on a more regular basis, but you got to be really careful that you don't go from like, I don't know this person at all, but I really want to get to know them, that you don't ratchet it up to like, all of a sudden I'm showing up all the time in their newsfeed, sending them messages, sending them calls. It gets creepy, right? So you got to kind of slowly build up the intensity and allow it to be on the other person's terms, where as you start to see someone over and over, and I don't know if you've had this on social media, but you didn't know who they were. They started showing up. Maybe it was an ad you clicked on and it was their retargeting campaign that started to follow you. But as you start to see them more and more often, suddenly it was like, okay, like I feel comfortable with them. Have you noticed that ever?
I have, now that you said it.
So that would be that's the last takeaway, is to really play with that frequency of how often you're showing up, even if it's just brief touches. This is why sending out video text messages to people is a really powerful tool, because you can do it with frequency. You can creating that proximity because they're seeing you on camera. You can talk about things that are interesting and ratchet up the intensity, but video texts on a regular basis. And you can go from like one a month to watch. If you pick someone in your database, if you're an agent, pick someone in your database and say, all right, I'm going to go see if I can create a better relationship, a deeper relationship here, for no reason other than like, let's just go create a relationship, and pick someone who's interesting to you and send them one video text a month for a month or two, and then start sending them every 2 weeks, and start sending them a video text a week, and throw in there like a text message and give them a phone call. And notice by the end of a couple months, like they will probably be a lot more like, if there's someone that you guys have a connection, it's gonna be a lot deeper there than someone that you talk to once every 6 months. It sounds obvious.
I love that. And I feel like it's way better than, and much more personal, yeah, than anything else. Like, who wants to open up an email? Or when someone calls you, what's the first thing you do? You look at the number and you're like, do I know them? Do I really want to talk to them now?
Right.
When you're allowing someone to watch that video on their time instead of disrupting their day.
And even if they don't watch a lot of it, I mean, this is just an experiment. Again, use this in people that you already know a little bit, and you're trying to deepen that relationship. That's the goal, right? That's the goal, is to figure out ways that you can just continue to strategically deepen the relationship with the people that can positively impact your business.
I love that. And that is important because oftentimes as agents, especially for me, I think of the transaction. And now I've changed over 22 years, where it's like, it's extremely important for me to have really good relationships with agents that I like, know, and trust, and everybody else, because guess what? We're all going to see each other again. So it's important that we have these relationships, really. So I like these takeaways of just sending a video text to someone once a month, and maybe once every 2 weeks, then every week. And they can open it on their time. You're not impugning on their time and their work. And it's extremely personable. And I love the gifts. I did not know that you were going to say that. It is important. I like to have fun too, because I love what I do, but to be able to insert presents where like people aren't expecting it, or FedEx when it's a bill, you're like, oh God, what's in this? Like boring paperwork. And then they get something from like when you last saw them, or it might, when you have these conversations with them, they might tell you their favorite book, or maybe, they needed help on, time block, or whatever it is.
But if they tell you their favorite book, here's the thing: they probably already have a copy of it. So then go. No. But look, so go find them an interesting, like, if they're really into the book, an interesting original printing of it, right? Or something like some sort of spin on that book. Like, take something they've told you and then go deeper with it. That's the whole idea. Is if you use it and you go deeper, that's where you get to some creative stuff. I got a business partner that kept hearing me talk about sending all these gifts to other people, and they were like, I never got a gift. So I went and I sent her a bobblehead of herself.
No.
I made like a custom bobblehead. I just have fun with this stuff, right? It's just, that's the most important thing.
That's awesome. And then our friend David Golden, he loves the cards, and I got a card from him where he pulls from Facebook, like a vacation that I was on, and he sent it to me. I was like in tears. I still have a card in my office.
Send out cards. That's exactly the stuff we're talking about. That's a system that makes it really easy to leverage the connection and memories that you have with people. Absolutely.
I love it. Do you do that too?
I don't. I every time I talk about, like, I really should do that. Every time David sends me a card, I'm like, I really should do that. And then I don't, but maybe I will this time. Maybe this will be the time I'm like, I'm going to do that.
Awesome. Well, let's see. I just want to wrap this up and talk from the beginning, from networking, which I find to be off-putting.
Yep.
And it's forced and stuff, to friend working, which is the long game. It's not a game. I shouldn't say it like that, but it's long-term, and it's nurturing, and it's really caring about people, not just, hey, here's my business card, I sell real estate, or blah, blah, blah. Like, let me throw up on you. So I love your ideas. And you gave actually 4 points for friend working, not 3, 4, baby. So I want to thank you for that, Jesse. Leave us with one. If I could ask you anything now that I have you, I would say, what is I think this is your favorite topic to talk about because you chose this. So for friend working, what would be your biggest takeaway that you've learned recently?
The importance of relationships and just that those really are what matter most. I think with COVID and everything going on in the world, like you said, the isolation that people are feeling, people are I don't want to say desperate, but they are hungry for connection. People
Yeah,
are looking for ways. And I think just being coming from a place to provide those relationships and connections is what makes life fun. It's what makes life interesting. And it's gone so far in all of my business and all my career. Pretty much the way I've built most of my business is through relationships first. And that's what it's all about for me. So that'd be what I leave everyone with.
I love that. And I want to thank you because we don't work together side by side, but you have always been there. If I've asked you anything, you get back to me in minutes. You're in California, I'm outside of Philadelphia. And to have that friendship, I really appreciate it. And it's awesome. I thank you for sharing also on Facebook and Clubhouse all the time because where some people are like you don't know, like, hey, how are you doing? So well, you are so giving, and it's just awesome. I appreciate you, and I
Thanks,
thank you
Stacey.
for joining me today.
Absolutely. Have a good day, everybody.
All right, thank
Bye,
you.
guys.
That's it.